What is going on, guys? We got some pretty interesting news today on the official Battlefield website. If you guys know now by my title, the 5 vs 5 competitive mode has been officially canceled. I'll read off their statement first and then talk about what this means afterwards, because there's some pretty telling stuff in this paragraph. This is written by Ryan MacArthur, DICE's senior producer. The paragraph starts off by saying, "The added focus on improving the quality of the experience and adding more of the content you want has led us to step back from our original plans to offer a competitive 5 vs 5 mode. Not creating this mode was a tough decision, but vital for us to more quickly reach our bug crushing and content goals. However, we will still pursue building a competitive gaming experience in Battlefield. We know that there's already an existing competitive scene in our community, and we're helping build features to support these communities. We want to work more closely with our players to help improve the tools that they have available to shape their play experience. This way, we can better support the places where competitive Battlefield 5 play already exists. This change in focus allows us to better deliver on our promise of new content that we know our players will love, as well as providing new ways to enjoy some of our more intense existing modes." Wow, this is actually pretty incredible. After our pretty disappointing look at Gamescom yesterday, I was actually planning on doing a video today asking the question if you guys thought DICE should pivot and scrap the whole 5 vs 5, or should they just deliver it out already, since, I mean, clearly we know they've been working on it with the 2 new smaller maps and all the data mine information that's been leaked out. I feel like though something was up after seeing Ryan MacArthur, who got interviewed by, I think who it was, the 2 Angry Gamers. Yesterday he got asked about the 5 vs 5, and his reaction was like someone who knew they were going to disappoint a lot of people and just didn't want to really talk about it. But you know, he was giving out a little bit of information here that, you know, telling me that something was up. But DICE apparently has already decided to answer this question for us in a pretty telling manner. They said they want to focus on improving the quality of the experience and adding more of the content you want, which to me basically says if they're not focusing on competitive 5 vs 5, clearly this means a shift of focus on what I imagine they've been getting a ton of feedback on, and that's the classic 32 vs 32 all-out war Battlefield experience. For them to pivot like this means that the feedback that they have received from the community in the past several months has finally arrived, at least publicly. I mean, I don't know eternally wise when they might have made a decision, but obviously they didn't just decide to scrap this all just yesterday. But I think this pivot is really telling that something really grasped their attention. It probably was the feedback directly, and then on the side, seeing the hype over the new COD that will be coming out later this year definitely caught their attention. Now, there's something interesting to point out about this competitive mode. DICE seems to make it clear that there's already an existing competitive scene in the community, and they're helping to build features to support these communities. So to me, that's the private servers, because that's where the competitive mode was at before, and it'll be interesting to see what they mean by build features to support these communities. So I'd imagine if this is going into the private servers, then hopefully there's more customization features to support the existing competitive scene. I think when they say they want to work more closely with our players to help improve the tools that they have available to shape their experience, it's pretty much leading me to believe that essentially what they're doing is they're going to be adding some type of tools that will hopefully help the competitive scene in these private servers. At least that's what makes sense to me. Now, what's unfortunate is, even though for players like me who really wanted DICE to focus on what makes Battlefield, these larger 32 vs 32 player modes, it seems like it was the bugs that really killed the 5 vs 5 competitive mode, because they said it's vital for us to more quickly reach our bug crushing and content goals, which basically means, hey, we're spending all this time to fix bugs. We can't get maps out like Al Sandan out on time, and it's killing our community. If you want to know more about this, you can check out the article where they talk about how Al Sandan is going to be pushed back until September, sometime mid-time during that month, where they're going to release the content for the update for 4.6, and they're not even sure even then they can get it out. So it's pretty clear that the bugs were actually the things that have really crippled Battlefield, and if it wasn't for the bugs, they probably could have continuously gotten all this content out for their larger player modes, and still probably would have been able to bring out the competitive scene. So that's the reality of it, and it really didn't take much of a statement from DICE to tell us that this is what was going on, but the transparency definitely is helpful. And them doing what I think they should have been doing in a situation like this, which is focus on what makes Battlefield what it is. Now, that's not to say in the future they can't have things like 5 vs 5 competitive or something else new. They just need to make sure their core Battlefield experience works and consistently has content coming out. Then whatever resources they have left over, they then can explore other options like 5 vs 5 or Battle Royale. But when the core Battlefield experience is suffering, the community is only going to be looking at all the other things like Firestorm, 5 vs 5, Combined Arms, and are going to be like, what are you doing, DICE? So that's how I feel about all of this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. For DICE to pivot so abruptly is giving me a lot of hope for the Pacific Theater in terms of performance and content, which is going to be very needed, as that's going to be a time when Call of Duty is going to be launching their title. So it's going to get really interesting, and the competition, in my opinion, is only good for the consumer. So I am definitely excited to see what happens later on this year. It's very interesting what's going on with Twitter lately. If you're watching the Game Changers and the DICE dev team who have been talking stuff up about the Pacific Theater, they're kind of shifting our attention over to that, which is a good PR move in my opinion, but it seems like they're kind of really looking at that right now, and I think there's a lot of promise for that, considering that they've already pivoted from 5 vs 5, not just today or yesterday, but who knows when, and that means that they're really going to be focused on getting the game working, and then new content, and I'm really expecting a lot of content to be coming out probably by the Pacific Theater, so it makes it even more promising for the chapters that follow the Pacific Theater and then on. So I actually think it's kind of funny how it is to give Battlefield a year and then it finally comes around. So I wouldn't give up on Battlefield just yet. It might be actually the worst time to be doing that right now. So exciting stuff just around the corner, in my opinion. But that is it for you guys today. Again, I always appreciate you guys being here. I am Livin', and I'll catch you guys again later.